And of course I said yes, I could, and I was pretty sure that I could when I said that time. But anyway, that's how we started out. I mean, the very beginning of this, and again, something like this is just like the chip. It starts with somebody's idea, a unique idea, someone who has the courage to say, we need to do something, and that really was the spark. This, I told him I was going to embarrass him in public one more time at least. I'm going to do it right in front of his family. This right was the spark for this, at least for my part of it anyway, to get this thing going. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that, not only that spark of we need to do something, and my whole life I will be appreciative of the fact that he didn't call somebody in New York, he didn't call somebody in California, he came over and asked me right across the street at the Barton County Arts Center when I had that show at that time, and said, can you do this? And again, my whole life I appreciate that opportunity just to even be involved in this project. Now that we've gotten to this point, and like I said, my future is very much setting on this foundation for what we're going to do here. So Brian, thank you for that. When we thought about that, we didn't know, how we were going to do this. We didn't know what scale. I don't think any of us had really appreciated the scale of what Chet Kilby had done. I mean, I think we still are all absorbing what that is. We probably will continue to, because the chip itself is continually evolving. And again, that spark of the first little, very crude silicon chip, what it's doing today is just growing and growing and growing. Well, we started out with we'll put it someplace that's prominent. He's from Great Bend, he's from Barton County, he's from Kansas. All those things are important. This is the center of Barton County, right where we're standing here. The original thought was maybe we'll just put it in the rotunda here in the courthouse, do it as a life-size bust. Of course, Jack was 6'7", so he was already monumental in size. But the more we absorbed, the more we took in what the importance of what he had done was. That just wasn't enough, and it's obvious that it wasn't enough, and it became more and more obvious. So we moved the idea to put it outside. Well, now from a sculptural standpoint, this really gets to be exciting because I'm just under 6 foot, and I don't look very big in front of this very beautiful building here. And we did not want to create the postage stamp on a legal envelope look. We did not want this needs to be monumental because Jack Kilby, what he did, his importance to the world, to our community, is monumental. And so to talk about tabletop, talk about life size, monumental begins in 1/4. Well, we're very fortunate, as Glenn said, PBA Architects got involved in this. We've been doing some preliminary designs, knew where we were going to put the sculpture and so forth, but we still had that nagging feeling of how do we compete with this building as a backdrop. Well, when PBA got involved in it, I personally think they're going to absolutely almost a miracle happened here, in that when they came up with their design for this plaza, which is where a lot of people are standing right now, they basically reduced this down, reframed where the sculpture is going to set. And just for point of reference here, the first time we've got to do this in public is where the quilt walk is at, out towards the street, is pretty close to where Jack's going to be standing right there. If you want to reference point, he's going to be standing out there. But if you look at the landscaping, how they're going to redo the concrete and so forth, now they've taken and we've reframed, and so you're going to have a true monumental feel for this sculpture, even though we have this almost now becomes more of a horizon, and then the landscaping brings it back in and reframes the sculpture composition itself, and so that it's going to definitely have a monumental feel, not only when you walk up to it, but as people drive by, as people walk across the street. This will just basically be a background back here. So they did a really great job. Then talked about Gary Gordon. Gary came down and we had a conference with that's basically our design team, myself and the two architects, PBA and Gary Gordon. And Gary grasped what we were doing here almost immediately. We came here, we looked at what we had for drawings at the time. We walked out here, looked at what's here for lighting. PBA had already started putting this into a computer graphic, and right away he grasped one of the mistakes, or not mistakes, but one of the adaptations that we have made is that we're going to put the flagpole over on the south side, and there's going to be an information kiosk here on the what's my immediate right, or the north side, and that'll be an interactive kiosk that we're still developing, and we're still talking to people like Texas Instruments to see just exactly what that's going to be. But the reason for that is we're going to mount lighting so that this sculpture won't be just lit from above or below, it'll be lit both ways. Gary's an absolute expert in that. Not only the White House work at the White House, the Smithsonian. If you want to see something that's within your reach to see how sculpture is really supposed to be lit in Omaha, Nebraska, it's one, if we think it's still, at this time, still the largest bronze sculptural installation, at least in the United States. The First National Bank in Omaha flipped the bill for this. But anyway, basically all of downtown Omaha did such a great job. There were two major major magazines just this last year, art magazines, that not only featured the sculptures, but featured those sculptures as they were lit at night. And I think that's a real tribute to the kind of people that we have involved in this project. And I'm just really proud to be part of that team. Now, to the sculpture specifically, what we tried to do here, or what my challenge was, again, to grasp the importance of what Jack had done. But the other thing is, you can see the traffic going by here. Hopefully what I've created here is an image that when people go by at 20 miles an hour, will pull them in. And they'll have a reason to pull over and say, what's that about? What's the story there? And hopefully, at some point in time here, there'll be a strong silhouette image that says that has something to do with family, with community, with how this community feels about itself. It must be important because it's right in the middle of, it's in the heart of where they live, right here. So what's that about? Well, now we talk about the love. There's a lot of symbolism here. On the first level of symbolism that I wanted to convey, and it's the very basic, is I called this composition the gift. And the reason it's the gift is Jack has his hand out. He's reaching his hand out to a young boy. And obviously what he's doing is he's giving the gift of the microchip to this young boy. Jack is part of that greatest generation that has given us the freedom to create, to live the life that we're living right now. The boy, he's my generation, Mark Brent. He's our generation. We're the generation that was the first young group to actually, we've lived most of our lives with the microchip in our lives. Most of you heard this story. I want to tell one more time. When I graduated from high school here in 1974, the same school system that Jack went through, used a handheld calculator. People got accused of cheating in math class. That wasn't allowed. 4 years later, when I graduated from First State University, degree in construction technology, that handheld calculator, the money you could spend on it might help determine what kind of grade you might get. In 4 years, it had changed the face of education that fast. Well, it took them a long time to get to that point before the invention was 58, 74. So it took a few years to figure out what we're going to do with this chip. Once they figured it out, and of course, that figuring out is still going on exponentially. The other generation, the other symbolism that's here, the really deeper symbolism, is that throughout mankind, knowledge has been passed from generation to generation. Only within this, not this century, but the previous century, have things changed where if your father was a carpenter, you were a carpenter. If your father was a farmer, you were a farmer. But whatever knowledge you got from the generation that preceded you. And that's from the beginning of humankind to that point. That's exactly how it was done. We had a lot of innovations in education, a lot of innovations in technology. The microchip has allowed that. I'll take you to the stars. And the fact is, that's what she's going to do. Some of her generation are out here, and I think that's important. Hopefully they'll understand that we did what we could with it, but we know you're going to do something bigger and better and greater. And so hopefully that's what I've done as a sculptor. I'm really excited and again, humbled that I've got an opportunity to be part of this. Again, appreciative that I grew up in the same town that Jack Kilby did.